Welcome, 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 everyone. It is time for Prop It Up. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Time, which means the weekend has officially started, especially for us over here on the East Coast. We are here to go over the best of the props for NFL weekend. We've got NBA, and Andrew's got a big smile on his face because it's NHL props time. Joining me
There's
as
the smile.
always, Matt Joseph and Andrew McInnis. Andrew, I'm just going to go start with you. NHL is off and running. It's kind of the talk of the town around Wager Talk right now. So give us a little update on how hockey has started and kind of some of the things. You had some really interesting things about schedules, and talk to us a little bit about props that you're going to look for this season.
Yeah, Andy, the popularity is growing slowly and surely with NHL. It's never going to be like NBA or NFL at Wager Talk, but people are starting to like it. And, I think the biggest thing right now is that rivalries is a big thing. People are starting to get behind a certain team. And, just like Matt with his Flyers, they don't follow the league entirely, but they get a team they like and they start following their divisions. And this year with the 4 separate divisions, with the new COVID changes to the league, I think it's going to make for the viewership and fan base to only get better and better. As far as things go with the props for me, the issue is, Andy, is that it's not like the props are as widely available. So it's kind of been an issue with that. Just like with NFL. I mean, if you're betting NFL, your book should have props, period. But if you're betting NHL, not every book will have it. So I gave out my first prop NHL play ever at Wager Talk last night with Connor McDavid to score a goal plus 120. Guy scores 3 goals. So that was kind of a nice start to that. It was just a 1% wager. But just kind of picking spots. One I really like is goalies saves, because you can look at a team, even if you expect them to get their ass kicked. For example, tonight with the Lightning and the Blackhawks, the Blackhawks are horrible. They're one of the worst teams in the league. However, it's a fact that even if they get scored on with 5 goals, their goalie is still going to be tested, and he's going to probably have to make at least 30 saves no matter what. So a lot of different angles to look at for NHL props. You can look at player shots, player points, and all of the above. So it's good.
Awesome. Matt, how have things been going? I know you're still doing college basketball. We got NFL playoffs. What's going on in mid-major Matt's world?
Yeah, 28-1 a run in college basketball right now. I was very unhappy last night. I lost 2 games by a point and like 2 points. The Gonzaga. I'm starting to find the teams I want to back in terms of their team totals and in terms of their overs and their unders. Gonzaga has been very kind to me in terms of their first half overs. Last night it lost. It should have won. They played about as bad of a, let's say, 5 minutes of the 20 minutes, and it still almost hit. Gonzaga's first halves have been very good. I'll be interested to see what the number is for the St. Mary's game on the road on Saturday. Bryant has been a big-time scorer. I actually have a free play up. The game just tipped off, so I don't think you can get it, but I have the first half over in the Bryant game today. Duquesne team total unders have been good to me because Duquesne just lost 3 guards, and they're playing a lot slower. Liberty opponent team total unders because Liberty's defense is on par with Virginia's, and so starting to find the trends here, and certainly we're riding them as we get closer to March Madness.
Awesome. Cool. I can't wait for March Madness just because it's here in Indianapolis. It's going to be amazing. I'm probably going to go downtown and watch some games. Hopefully get some good props in. I'll be tailing you for sure for that. So it should be literally the madness in March Madness for this year. So let's jump right into the NFL playoffs. Got 4 games, obviously: Rams, Packers, Ravens, Bills, Browns, Chiefs, Bucks, and Saints. We do have a promo code for everybody. The promo code is 20PROP, and you get 30 days of props for $79. That works for any one of us. You can get mine, you can get Matt's, you can get Andrew's. I am doing NFL and NBA props, so if you want to get some NBA props and NFL props, do that. Andrew's got NHL, and Matt has got his college basketball going on, so that's 20PROP. Let's start with the first game of the weekend. Rams versus Packers. I would say injuries might be the biggest storyline of this game from the Rams' perspective, with Aaron Donald and Jared Goff. Matt, I'll go to you first. I guess the first question is, how are you looking at these injuries and affecting the game from a prop perspective?
Well, I mean, if you listen to all the people, I mean, essentially the Rams plus 6.5 is like the play to make because of the Rams defense. And it's just, we know that Aaron Donald's going to play. Cooper Kupp, I'm sure, is going to play if he's not 100%. It looks like Jared Goff's going to play, but I wonder how he's going to do with his injury in 34-degree weather and colder in Green Bay. I mean, this is not, I haven't been injured like he has, and I don't know about hand injury and stuff, but I feel like cold stiffens that sort of thing up. Now, of course, they're going to give him painkillers and things like that. He won't feel anything, I'm sure, but he didn't look very effective against Seattle. The guys I'm looking at in this matchup, I'm looking at Cam Akers. His rushing, his receiving. I think the Rams, the only way they're going to win is if they go ball control and if they basically take that ball out of Jared Goff's hands. On the Packers side, look, this is going to be one of those hold your nose type bets. But would either of you consider taking the under on Devontae Adams' receptions or his yards? Because Jalen Ramsey has not allowed over 50 yards receiving since week 1. I don't know if I have the stomach for it because you know that Rodgers is going to go that way. But I might look at his under more for receptions than yards because he can break one. But 6.5 for his receptions against Jalen Ramsey, he's not going to leave him in this game, don't you think, guys?
Andrew, go to you. What do you think?
Yeah, based off what I've read, guys, I would be looking at Devontae Adams with his receptions, no doubt about it, if we're looking at him compared to his yards. The reports that I've seen and the fantasy stuff that I've read, it's going to be a lot shorter of routes. It's going to be a lot more of slot passes and stuff like that for Devontae Adams to get the ball in his hands, but not try and force the downfield ball, which to me, to kind of segue into my part, at least for the Packers, from what I've read, Troy Hill is going to be matching up against Alan Lazard. The matchup is 50 pounds difference between these two guys. It sounds like height and weight differences. It's going to be a complete mismatch. I think for this week, guys, for props specifically, it's a lot of the secondary guys you're going to go to. And I was saying that for a large part during the season with running backs and wide receivers, how you could get some better numbers with those second and third guys for a reason, with them being the second and third options, obviously. But obviously the best players are the best players for a reason. Like the Stephon Diggs of the world, the Devontae Adams of the world, they're going to get their touches no matter how covered they are. But I don't think it's a hot take at all from Matt, talking about how to approach this Ramsey versus Devontae Adams. I think the best thing about this Packers team has been that they've had, the ability to spread things out. I think that Marquez Valdes-Scantling will actually be able to outrun his corner. I think he'll be able to get some plays. I would look at Scantling's receiving yards, and some might say that the rushing is going to be tough for the Packers, but I think it's going to be if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's going to be a pass-heavy game for them. They're going to spread their offense out quite a bit. An important point that Matt made was about clock management, time management. And the funny thing is about this Packers team is that during the course of the year, for at least the first half of the year, they actually were top 5 in time of possession per drive. So although they can march the field, although Rodgers has that great arm that he does have, they actually do have the ability to milk the clock, go for those short passes. So if you're betting on this Packers team this year or this weekend, and you're looking for some props for those guys as well, like Scantling and like Lazard, I would be looking for receptions more so versus, loading up on one guy for his yards. Because I feel like the offense will be very spread out. Last week, I had a bunch of tweets at me about Cam Akers. Didn't even end up making that a client play. It was just a free play that I sent out, but couldn't have asked for anything better with that. To me, I thought that was one of those ones that were too good to be true. The quarterback situation was tough. We knew they were going to try and control the ball on the ground, and they did. They sure did run the ball quite a bit and controlled the pace of that game. So I would look for Cam Akers once more to get the job done, although I don't think he'll be the top running back this week, that's for sure. And I'm looking at Woods as my receiver for the Rams when they do look to throw the ball.
Nice. Matt, we had a really good question on Twitter. This has to do with teasers and maybe a little bit of future, so I want to read this and get your take on this. Steve S. Book, at Steve S. Book 22, heard about Packers tease, which I agree with, but Packers to win the NFC is plus 130. They would be a small favorite versus either team. Would you take that and eliminate the option for the second team of the tease? What do you think? Are you going to tease the Packers? The problem is I've looked at teasing the Packers, and I just can't find another game NFL-wise. I mean, maybe look to another sport to tease the Packers with. But what would you do? Would you include the Packers in a tease, or would you just go for them plus 130 to win the NFC, or just lay off everything completely? What's your take on this one?
Well, it's all personal preference. To me, if I think I would tease them with the Ravens because I like the Ravens, and I would certainly like the Ravens at 8.5. So I think it's personal preference. I think, unfortunately, you missed the boat on Packers to win the NFC. I think you had to do it before the playoffs began, or you had to do it a couple weeks ago to get any sort of that's not a bad bet, and the Packers could certainly win, but I just don't think the price is worth it. I'd almost rather go on a week-to-week basis. Maybe you put some money on the Packers money line this game, and then roll that over into the next Packers game, and then you kind of get close to that plus 135 anyway if you think that they're going to make it to the win the NFC Championship. By the way, last thing, Robert Tonyan to score a touchdown. I feel like this is a Robert Tonyan game on Saturday.
Oh, that's a good one.
Tease down Green Bay, tease up the Cleveland Browns. I don't think KC wins by more than 2 touchdowns.
I'm with you on that one. I think that's a sneaky close game. I think that's the one. That's the one that could surprise everybody. I would not be shocked if the Browns somehow squeak it out. The Chiefs have not been winning in dominating fashion. Maybe they're holding themselves back a little bit. But I think that's a weird matchup for Kansas City if they can get Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going. As far as Rams Packers, I struggle with some of the player props. I will keep going back to playing Green Bay. They're over their point total in the first half. I grabbed it at 13.5. The last 3 games, they're all the way up to 20.3 points in the first half. I know about the clock control for the Rams, but Jared Goff with a broken thumb and 34-degree weather, and Aaron Rodgers, what did I see? 5-1 in the playoffs when it's 35 degrees or less. I think they have a really big advantage. I would look for them to get out to a big lead. So that's how I'm going to go after this game, Packers and Rams. Ravens, Bills, this is the game that I feel like I have the best read on. I want to get your guys' thought. Andrew, I'm going to go to your first. We got the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, 2 teams. Both have a lot of steam. This is going to be an absolutely unbelievably fun game to watch. I have no doubts. What do you think about Ravens and Bills?
Well, first of all, I think I had to take our hats off to all 3 of us because I think it was a pretty big consensus play with Lamar Jackson and his rushing yards last week on Prop It Up. I don't think anybody was opposed to that or against it, and nobody could really argue it because they knew that if he was going to be successful, he was going to have to run the ball, and that's what he did. And the funny thing for me is that I've been known to be a Lamar hater, but I think if your quarterback has to make plays like that for your team to win, that kind of says something about your entire team. I actually don't have that many props on this game because I really feel like it will be spread out. I don't know exactly who's going to be targeted the most. I might look at a Beasley option here for the Bills. I mentioned that I think it's going to be a kind of a secondary guys type of weekend here in the NFL. And Diggs is going to get his fix in, but I feel like he's going to be covered like crazy. And if you look at it from the Ravens standpoint, I had one thing to say about this Ravens team. Was Miles Boykin. That's kind of what I was checking in for them. Again, I'm looking to expose those first wide receiver 1 options and try and bet on some of these second options. And I feel like the matchups for them will be there, and they're going to try and make the secondary guys beat them. So, as far as the rushing prop for Lamar, people are going to kind of be shocked at me to say this now, but I'm actually going to go under on his rushing and over on pass attempts because I do feel like Buffalo will be up in this game, and I do feel like if Lamar leads his team to a victory or even a cover, they're going to have to throw the ball.
Matt, what do you think? Bills at home versus the Ravens.
So obviously 2 mobile quarterbacks, and so I went through. These 2 teams played a lot of the same mobile quarterbacks, and so the comparison that I saw, if you look at the Bills, when they faced Tannehill, they gave up 42 yards rushing. The Ravens gave up 35. The Bills gave up 36 to Mahomes. The Ravens gave up 26. The Bills saw Cam Newton twice, gave up 78 total. The Ravens saw him once, gave up 21. And then, you look at some of the others, like Carson Wentz had 49 yards rushing against the Ravens way back early in the season. The key here is the Ravens play a lot of man defense, and Josh Allen has 19 passing touchdowns against man defense. He's also leads the NFL in touchdown passes versus the blitz. He's also rushed for 3 touchdowns against the blitz, so that comes into play. And on the Ravens side, the Bills have allowed the most catches and yards to tight ends this season, opens up Mark Andrews for everything. I'm looking at some unders here potentially. I think the under for Devin Singletary's rushing comes into play. I know he's the only option there, but I just don't know how much running they're doing against the Ravens. The other under I'm kind of looking at, I have to do a little more research on, is the under 3.5 receptions for John Brown. I mean, the Ravens corners, it depends on who you think Peters is going up against, because Peters is the one you want to pick on. You don't want to pick on Marlon Humphrey, and you don't want to pick on the other guy. Actually, it is Jimmy Smith, excuse me. Peters is the one you want to do, so you got to kind of figure out who Peters is going to have. I think he might be following somebody else, so I think there might be some value taking the under on John Brown. The other thing that could be in there, because it's going to be cold and potentially windy, is the under for the longest completion for Lamar Jackson. There's no game breakers on this team. I mean, and he doesn't throw it deep that often anyway. He may not have time to throw it deep, so those are a couple things I'm looking at in this game. Great
stuff. I think this is a nightmare matchup for Buffalo. I talked about it earlier, and Chance in the room has Chance Copperpot has pointed out that the line is dropping. I love J.K. Dobbins to score a touchdown here. He scored in 7 straight games. It was plus 120 yesterday. I'm seeing it's plus 105 now. I love some of these rushing props. Bills, I mean, even last week against the Colts gave up 160 yards in their games that they've lost. They've given up over 200 yards rushing to opponents. So that's the blueprint on how to beat the Bills. You've got to run all over them. And in windy conditions, it's gonna open up to even more rushing attempts and rushing yards. So if I'm going after this game from a prop perspective, I am going after rushing. I have a 4% play up that's right now on this game. I'm undefeated in 4% prop plays last 30 days. So when I've bet a 4% play, it's good. What do you think about Stephon Diggs, Matt? Stephon Diggs in this game is what kind of treatment is he going to get, and can he overcome it? No one's really stopped him. His receptions prop was I think it was 14-2 this year over. So what do you think the Ravens do to Stephon Diggs, and is this windy conditions, does that really hurt Diggs and Allen in this game?
It's one of those that the side is probably the under, but I just can't take it. Because much like Devontae Adams, I mean, Allen's going to force him the ball, and he's going to make tough catches. So the play on Adams and Diggs is probably the under, but it's the question of, do you actually have the stomach to do it? I don't. I'm not going to recommend it. That's just where I would lean. I think he just, as Andrew said, it's the secondary guys in this game.
I'm reading something here, and it's something I looked at, all day long, and yesterday was they're just projecting, like Matt said, about different defenses they're going to throw. It's just Stephon Diggs might be shadowed to coverage at Marlon Humphrey. All indicators point to suggest it's impossible to stop Diggs with the press man coverage. You normally see them shadow a guy like Humphrey. They're pretty much saying the better thing that they should do is have a zone coverage against him. But the fact is you talk about those secondary guys, and Andy, I'll throw it back to you, but do you think that it's more so just like hey, give us your best, do what you can against Diggs, and we're going to try and worry about the other guys versus, hey, we're going to double up on this guy and let the other guys run for free? Because I feel like if I'm a coach, this is how I operate when I'm coaching teams, is that you don't let their best player beat you, let their secondary guys beat you. And I feel like that might be what they're going to try and do.
Yeah, and I think the loss of Zach Moss is huge. I think that is such an underrated injury for Buffalo. Matt, you talked about now Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary's not scaring anybody in the backfield. And that's really hard to control the line of scrimmage when you have a running back that can't have a lot of success between the tackles. So, yeah, Andrew, I think your point is great that the secondary guys, Singletary, if he can't get the running game going and they're keying in on Stephon Diggs, yeah, that's going to open up a lot of avenues for some secondary guys to put some really good stats in. So it's going to be a fun game. I can't wait to watch it. Probably my favorite game to watch this weekend. Let's move on to the Browns versus Chiefs. I am on record saying I think this game is going to be close. I would not include this in any teaser whatsoever. I would love to look at the Nick Chubb rushing total. I would grab him over the rushing and receiving because he has broken some pretty big screen passes. That's how I would go after this game. I also really like Baker Mayfield over 259 yards passing. He's done that in 5 out of the last 6 games. And if the Chiefs get up a little bit, he's going to have to throw. He's got his weapons, and he can throw to those running backs and get get some really good yards off those screen passes and dump offs. Matt, I'm going to go to you first. What else do you like about the Browns versus the Chiefs?
Well, so here's the thing. So everybody does like the Browns here, and I've seen everybody say, well, it's going to be a close game and everything. And part of me thinks that the Browns won their Super Bowl last week. They beat their rival. They went into Pittsburgh. They embarrassed their rival. They got their first playoff win in a long time. Now, there's two ways to look at it. They can either be free and easy and just go nuts and go for it on fourth down and play like they have nothing to lose, or they can, go the other direction and play a little tighter, which I don't think they will. If you look, a couple of things here. The Chiefs have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends this season, puts Austin Hooper into play. The Chiefs have also allowed the most receiving yards to running backs, 846. There's been 16 total running backs who have 25 yards or more through the air against the Chiefs. So that puts Kareem Hunt into play. Kareem Hunt averages nearly 5 targets in losses, 2.5 targets in wins. His number was 2.5 and 15.5 receiving yards. So I think both of those come into play. Tyreek Hill has had the most deep touchdown receptions. The Browns are tied for 3rd in deep passing touchdowns allowed at 11. Tyreek Hill's longest reception is 25.5 yards. Mahomes' longest completion, which I know is a favorite of this show, is 39.5. I think he could get both of those. I don't care. Denzel Ward's there. Of course, you're putting money on the Travis Kelce to score a touchdown here. I think that's in play. But the high number, 57, means you're looking at probably a lot of overs in this game in terms of the props.
Nice. Andrew, what do you like? Browns and the Chiefs.
21 of 34. That is the stat for Baker Mayfield's passing for last week during their victory, 21 of 34. What does that instantly tell me? Well, I'm going to go ahead and go with his pass attempts for this week, not pass completions, but pass attempts. Based off what we've seen, Matt's talking about how that's kind of the Super Bowl. We've seen what the spread is. It's expected the KC gets the job done. I know that Andy and I are saying that the Browns keep it close, and the general population seems to think that it could be a close game, at least out the get-go. And that's kind of what my first look here was thinking, you know what? No matter how this game plays out, Baker Mayfield will be throwing the ball, and he's going to have to late in the game. Baker Mayfield attempts for his passes, which is actually a play, guys, that is more widely available than it ever has been. I didn't used to see that at every sports book, and now it's quite a bit. It's there everywhere. I was going to mention the same thing that Matt was, except for it wasn't going to be just the rushing plus the receiving. It was going to be just the receiving yards for Kareem Hunt. I feel like Nick Chubb is going to have a huge weekend on the ground, but I feel like Kareem Hunt will definitely get his short yardage tosses and try and turn that into something against this Chiefs team that will be playing a little bit more back and trying to avoid any big plays happening to Landry or guys like that. I'm not really sure about Tyreek Hill. I would actually be most certainly be taking his yards versus his receptions. I feel like he could explode for one huge play. Don't expect him to kind of carry the load big time. One guy as well I'm looking at is Demarcus Robinson for the Kansas City Chiefs. I told you guys I'm bringing it with the secondary guys, and he's definitely that. We'll leave it at that here. It's interesting looking at. He's not great, but if Cleveland's running zones, they're going to look towards all those other top guys. They're going to look towards Kelce. They're going to look towards Hill. I'm looking towards the secondary guys, and we know how much lower the yards and receiving is for that. And one that I think you might like here, Andy, is the Travis Kelce to score a touchdown. I feel like he gets it done, and he scores a touchdown for them at a pretty good price.
Browns' 5th worst team in terms of giving up touchdowns to tight ends. So absolutely, Travis Kelce is in play to score a touchdown. It's a little juicy. I wouldn't mind laying the juice on that one. I have a gambling friend of mine who sometimes he's like, yeah, it's juicy, but if it wins, who cares? So sometimes his point is sometimes we make too big of a deal out of the juice. He's like, 10-cent line movement, who cares? If it's going to win, it's going to win. So lay the juice anyways. So
Would you agree that laying juice is more comfortable if you're playing less plays?
I think laying juice is all about the sport that you're laying it in. Like I would never lay big juice in like an NFL spread. But if you want to bet, this, Andrew, you want to bet MMA, sometimes you got to lay juice.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes a minus 180 fighter is the best value on the board. Formula One, I laid minus 225 on Lewis Hamilton to win. He won 6 straight. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's tough to tell people to do that, but in certain sports and certain spots, I think it's there. Matt, what do you think about laying juice?
I guess I'll be the different one. I especially in player props, I won't do it. I mean, with as sure as it is, and they could play this game 100 times tomorrow, Sunday, between the Chiefs but Kelsey's not guaranteed to score a touchdown. I mean, he's only had. I don't think he hasn't scored in every game, and yes, it makes sense. But I feel like there are certain props I'd be to do that with, not to score a touchdown, because we've seen. I mean, I'm trying to think. There was a guy that was a superstar in one of his teams, and he didn't score last week in the playoffs. So it's a good bet, but to me, at a highly juiced price, I will never do it. I would be more apt to take him to score twice, just to make myself feel a little better if it's plus 300, plus 400, plus 500 for him to score twice, because I think that could certainly happen if he gets one.
And to your point, though, I think that, and to what I was saying, is that I would be more comfortable, Matt, doing that if I was an incredibly low volume bettor. Like right now with the NHL, it's all I read about. It's all I do. I'm hosting Puck Time now and Wager Talk. I have decided to take a higher volume approach to start this season off. Nothing crazy, but with that being said, I'm going to play a lot more puck lines, because instead of playing a minus 130, I'll turn that into a plus 200. That's kind of what I'm willing to do. Is if I lose it, I'm not losing the vig on that. And that's kind of, so I think if you're playing props and you're playing 7 or 8 a weekend, then yeah, you definitely don't want to be laying that minus 140 or 160 or whatever it is. Even if it's plus 100 on a touchdown score, I get what you're saying, Matt. And I think that even more emphasis on your point is if you're doing multiple of them versus just one.
The Lamar Jackson prop. First off, it's been plus for quite a bit to score a touchdown. And then even if it gets to minus 110, minus 120, that's okay. Because that's essentially like, if you look at the things that we can get for minus 120 in the gambling market, Lamar Jackson to score a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, is going to be a lot more sure than, I don't know, like a short NBA line, a short whatever line. Once you get up to minus 150, minus 160, minus 150 is probably my cap. But after that, it's like, oof, you better be 100%. Like, you better have the newspaper telling you in the future that he's going to score a touchdown for something like that.
I've only laid a lot of juice on one pick so far this year, a lot of juice, and it hit. It was minus 170. I think Devontae Adams to score a touchdown. It was the first touchdown of the game in the first 3 minutes of the game.
Nice. I laid minus 400 on an MMA fight when I watched a certain fighter walk out to the ring. I was like, there's no way this guy's winning.
But it won, didn't it?
Why not pick a method of victory, though?
27 seconds, he was laying on his back, knocked unconscious.
Okay, well, that's a little different, though. It's not like you're going to watch Travis Kelce walk out of the locker room and be like, yep, he's going to score a touchdown.
You know what? He looks game ready. He looks game ready.
It's like my dad always used to say about horse racing. You have to watch the horses that come out of the stall, and if they take a then they're better off than the ones that don't. So, I guess that's what you're talking about.
Oh, man.
We got to get Joe to clip this. We need someone to clip this right now.
Derrick Henry didn't score a touchdown last week. I'm sure it was very, very juiced.
That's actually a good point, Andy. Yeah.
But I wouldn't have played that juiced. No way. In a rivalry game against a good defense, I wouldn't have played that. So real quick, just to remind everybody, that's Matt. He's on Sports Memo. That's Andrew. He's on Wager Talk. I'm Andy. I am on Wager Talk. Hit the like button, guys, if you can, if you're enjoying this content. It does help us out. Let's Wager Talk know we're doing a good job. And we have one more NFL game to go. Buccaneers versus Saints. Man, this is prop galore, right? So, Andrew, I'm going to go to you first. Buccaneers, Saints. A lot of guys that we have bet on this year are involved in this game. How are you going after the Buccaneers and the Saints?
It worked for me last week, keeping it pretty low volume and keeping it pretty simple. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did last week. My number one guy, and this worked out last week again, I'm going to go for it again, is Antonio Brown. We all remember what he used to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we know what he still is for the Buccaneers. But what I do know that he is not a number one option. Some would say he's not a number two option, and that's just the thing, is that this team has Evans, Godwin, they've got Brown, they've got so many guys that they can go to. I'm looking at Antonio Brown to have an outstanding week. I think that he could go, 30 or 40 yards over his posted number, simply based off the matchups. And you look at who's going to be covering Evans, who's going to be covering Godwin. We know that Brady does like Brown. He lived at the guy's house for heaven's sake. So I think that the connection's there with them, and come playoff time, he'll go with who he trusts. So I think Brown is a good option to go to for him. I actually haven't talked about Kamara in weeks. I don't know why. It's just something I haven't really brought him up, whether it was receiving or whether it was rushing. But despite the defense that we've seen, at least the running defense from the Buccaneers, this is going to be the Kamara show. This is going to be the Alvin Kamara show this weekend. If you can get his receiving plus rushing, grab that. But I think that they will try and control the tempo of this game. And I believe that Alvin Kamara is going to go off. I think this game is going to be a very close game. Also, Leonard Fournette, he looked like a beast. He looked like somebody that's going to be crucial to the game plan, someone that kind of separates things and keeps the defenses guessing that not only is Tom Brady going to throw it, but also hand it off every now and then. So Leonard Fournette is certainly there for me. But Antonio Brown, he is the guy that I'm locking in here. I'm propping up once more here this weekend.
Matt, what do you think about this one?
So I'm along the same lines as you for one of the things you talked about today. I like the over for Ryan Suckup. It's 6.5 points. I think that the Tampa Bay has a good enough offense to get in the field goal range, and I think the Saints have good enough defense to force field goals. So I like that. The thing I was looking at is Marshawn Lattimore and how he basically owns Mike Evans. If you look this year, he had shadow covered him 65% of the routes, had 4 targets, no catches. And if you look, I forget the number off the top of my head, but he's had like 42 targets in his last 7 meetings against him and only 21 catches. And so I'm looking at the under for Evans's yards. I think there's just something about Marshawn Lattimore that he enjoys, getting in Mike Evans's head. And along to what Andrew's saying, I like the over for Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown is a guy that's going to score a touchdown in this game. You remember the game back in week 1, the closer game, Antonio Brown wasn't on the Bucs. He was on the Bucs when they lost that game 38-3 in Tampa. Here's the trivia for you guys. Do you know the 4 people who caught touchdown passes from Drew Brees in that game back on November 8th?
Oh man, it's got to be a tight end.
Two tight ends.
It wasn't anything too flashy. I know that.
Was there an Emmanuel Sanders sighting?
There was an Emmanuel Sanders sighting, yes.
Two tight ends, and then Ted Ginn, I don't think is there anymore.
I don't think he's still
he was
there,
always great for a Saints trivia question last year. Like, what guy did this? Ted Ginn. No, who was it?
But it was Adam Troutman, Emmanuel Sanders, Josh Hill, and Traquan Smith. And that was with Michael Thomas in the lineup. By the way, Kamara in the 2 games, 21 rushes, 56 yards total, 14 targets, 10 catches for 60 yards total. So I think if you're going to go Kamara, maybe you want to look at the receptions, maybe not. But plus, I think the Bucs are going to make this a game. I know I got the eye roll from Ralph on presidential address. I feel like this is a trap line. You look, if you're the betting public, you see the Saints won these 2 games rather easily. They're home against the Bucs team that didn't look great against the Washington football team, and it's only 3. Like, that seems like a trap to me. Don't you guys agree?
Definitely. I'm the biggest recency guy you'll ever meet when it comes to sports betting. That game is in the past. I've forgotten about that game. The players should have forgotten about that game. Doesn't mean shit. To me, it's actually worse the fact that the Saints are coming off a game against the worst team that was in the playoffs. That game wasn't even close. That game, they would have had a better game against their second string in a scrimmage. That game, that's just honestly the way I feel. I feel like Heineke made that game for Washington a lot closer than the scoreboard dictates, and it kept things competitive, at least for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that will help them as we move forward this week. And that's why I like some of these props for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I was a little bit more questionable about some of these Saints props.
I went over Ryan Suckup earlier today. I am in complete agreement with Matt that I think this is going to be a field goal game. I don't see one team blowing out the other. I went over earlier, New Orleans has been the best third down defense the last 3 games. I think was it 17.8% completion for opponents for New Orleans. So I think I would like to eliminate Kamara's rushing and just take him in the receiving, because if the Bucs defense shows early in the game that they're just not going to allow rushing, Sean Payton and Drew Brees have no problem with just abandoning the run completely and saying, all right, our short passes are going to be our quote rushes. So a lot of dump off passes. I think Kamara could see a lot of success in the receiving game. So that's our NFL stuff. Let's go to NBA for a little bit and then NHL. Andrew, stay tuned, guys. In a few minutes, Andrew has a 5% play tonight. We're going to give you a promo code, so don't miss out on that. Let's talk NBA. Andrew, I'm going to go to you first. How has the last week been for you? NBA, what kind of things are you noticing? It's tough with some of these rosters and some of these games. What have you been finding success with in NBA?
I'm going to be completely honest. I've slowed down with the NBA. I've had some frustrating losses. I kind of took a step back, and I've been, watching from the outside. Picking my spots here and there with the sides. Doing more props though, Andy, than I was before, just simply based off that I kind of got a little bit angered with the sides and totals with the way this league is going. Look at the Raptors game last night. I thought about taking that total over. I know it made the bad beat segment on Wager Talk today. Raptors scored 12 points in the fourth quarter. That total does not go over. It misses by 1 point. Things like that are just seeming to happen night in, night out basis. That's I just don't want to be involved in as an NBA bettor. I will say one category that you've been taking advantage of, I've seen, and hats off to you, Andy, for doing those free pick videos. Rebounds. Rebounds have been huge because we are tracking the minutes. Has been huge for me with my fantasy and prop betting. You can go on certain websites and see projected minutes, see recency minutes, seeing how many minutes this position is playing against this team. And if you do that and you see a 10.5 rebounds and think that's too high, that guy could go out there and get 14 or 15. So it's interesting, Andy. I think that, like I said to you guys last week, to kind of repeat myself, is more than any other sport with props, NBA is going to be completely matchup based. One guy could have a horrible night one night, and the next night have a triple double. It's completely different than many other sports.
Matt, this season you've been doing, call it paper trading, which you should do. People should do that if you want to get into a sport. I mean, I got my ass kicked the first year I did golf head to heads. I think I hit like 25% of my bets. Now, you learn, and sometimes the best way is put stuff out on Twitter, paper trade, keep track of yourself. So what has last week been like for you, kind of following some of these props?
It has not been great. I think I'm 5-9 overall. We talked about it, and you messaged me on Twitter and said Malcolm Brogdon's been a good bet. I know that I think I've hit 2 of my wins have been on Malcolm Brogdon. And then you look at some of these other guys, like I know you had been taking the under for LaMarcus Aldridge's rebounds. Well, I had his points and rebounds. I guess it was earlier this week when DeRozan wasn't playing, and DeMarcus Aldridge isn't what I remembered him. And basically, I've just been reading a lot of the DFS articles. There are a couple sites that I go to, and if multiple sites mention the guy, then I feel like I at least look at it more. DeAndre Hunter, somebody on Twitter brought him up to me. He's been a guy who's had some value. And I'm also learning the points, rebounds, and assists when you take the 2, when you take the 3. A guy like Joel Embiid's been very kind, although yesterday he had a bad game. I didn't take it, but I wish I did because he played so much on, I'm forgetting all my days, Tuesday, that yesterday you feel like it was set up for him to not play as well. And of course, he didn't play the fourth quarter. And so it's all about the learning process. I don't watch enough NBA to be like, hey, it's matchup based. I go off of what I see from teams against the Sixers, but it's a learning process so far.
Well, now that DeMar DeRozan is back, I think we're back on the LaMarcus Aldridge under rebounds. DeMar DeRozan was back, and Aldridge was again off the boards again. So weird. That Spurs team is so weird. Their guards are their best rebounders by far. It makes no sense. I like on the Spurs Keldon Johnson. He's been a good, steady player prop. I have been finding success with rebounds, Andrew, and I will also point out the first halves. I think you're crazy to bet a full game spread in the NBA this year. I have found way more success in the first half. I've seen just the other night, the Milwaukee Bucks, they were up 20 with 2 minutes to go. They win by 9, which means they didn't cover because the spread was 10, but they covered in the first half easily. So if I'm looking
favorites only though, Andy, or would you say for dogs as well? Because I feel like for favorites, I'd look at that, but for dogs, full game.
Dogs full game for sure. If you're betting favorites, I would look at that first half spread. It is so hard to cover an NBA game by 11 points, but when you have all your starters and your bench that's playing in the first and second quarter and the spread's only 5.5, it's way easier to cover. So I will also point out one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all times, Ralph Michaels, he gave this out. Cleveland without their guards is so bad at scoring right now. Andrew, Cleveland was such an over team to begin the year, and now their last 3 games.
They're the best team to take unders on. It's awesome.
They're amazing.
I was on the NBA show last week. That was my best bet for the show, the under. It didn't even crack 200 points.
So it's 197 tonight, and they're playing the Knicks. These are the 2 worst teams in the last 3 games playing in the first half scoring points. Cleveland's not even scoring 40 points in the first half. They're at 39 points.
I'll say this. Chetty Osman's been good for DFS. I've been putting him in my lineups with both those guys. I mean, his usage has gone up, and he's been putting in some nice efforts in DFS.
Nice. I would look at players like that. I think it's way too hard to get some of these guys when their props are 42.5, 40.5. Because another thing that we're seeing is if a game gets out of control, starters are sitting. More than ever this year. Andrew, you've followed NBA for a long time. You know that a lot of times in these blowouts in years past, they'll still play half of the fourth quarter. Not this year. If this game is out of control in the third quarter, everybody's sitting, and it's just bench versus bench. So, okay, let's get on to NHL. Andrew, you have a 5% play, and we have a promo code for that. So the promo code is AMC50, and you get 50% off of Andrew's 5% play. Tell us a little bit about it. Obviously, don't give us the play, but tell us about NHL and what you got going on tonight.
Yeah, look, I know it's Friday. The NHL season started on Wednesday, but you don't want to hesitate. If you see a spot that you really like, it's kind of a situational total, I'm calling it, based off something that's worked for me in years past. It's been something that's been a proven angle for me, and with the NHL, totals have actually been my strong point. I bet sides for sure, but I think with both unders and overs, you can find certain matchups that really work for you. As far as the NHL, guys, I encourage everyone to look at puck time because we're doing segments now, just like the college basketball show and just like the NBA show. We are doing segments, so it's more like the favorite of the day, fade or tail, the total mover of the day. So some movements with the market, the marquee matchup, the game that everyone's going to want to watch. So with the NHL, it's been great because we're trying to find these games that people might want to bet on or might find as a trap game and try and give those out. Andy, is that? I'm not sure if that's the one that I sent you, the coupon code for that.
Oh, is this,
there we go.
Which one is it?
Yeah, it's the one on the bottom that you have scrolling. Yeah.
Oh,
there, yeah.
for Christ's sake.
Puck 15 is the coupon code to get $15 off.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Puck 15. But no problem.
It's a problem.
I got just a couple for tonight. I didn't dive into too many because, like I said, I'm starting to still make sure that I know what I guess everyone's book has. I know that for all of you guys in the States that have access to FanDuel, DraftKings, those things, you should be able to get these. But total points, my book's offering over 1.5 for total points for a player. Austin Matthews playing in his second game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This exact same angle worked for me with Connor McDavid last night. However, McDavid was not playing a horrible team. He was playing the same team he played in his first game. The Leafs are playing what's projected to be the bottom feeder, worst team in the division, the Ottawa Senators. They are a youth movement. They are in year 3 of their rebuild. We feel like they'll be rebuilding until, I have gray hair. But we'll see how long that lasts. But Austin Matthews plus 150 to get over 1.5 points. And, of course, if I'm singling out one player, I will take him to score a goal. And you guys aren't going to believe this price. We talk about juice on one prop. Minus 115 for a hockey player to score a goal tonight. Not even a plus price. So that was kind of shocking. Moving towards one more game here. Another guy that's top of the league in rankings. MVP candidate for countless seasons. I'm going with Nathan McKinnon to score a goal at plus 120. The new format and scheduling, guys, for the NHL, like I said, it causes teams to play the same team numerous times. So the Blues played the Avalanche in the opening night of the league. Score was 4-1 Blues. That was not supposed to be that like that at all. Colorado was a minus 140 favorite in that game. They get dominated. They get absolutely destroyed. But that's how hockey is, because it's not like you're shooting a basket to an open net. You have to shoot into a goalie. Goalie gets hot. You could lose that game. I expect McKinnon to bounce back here at the plus 120, 125 price. If the Avalanche have a good game, he will be involved and he will score. I know it's the second game of the season, but I do expect him to be a vital part of tonight. So I'm looking at that. And also, guys, if your book does offer the shot prop, until the odds makers start to adjust, take some of these guys that are on the power play for their shots. There's going to be penalties early. Austin Matthews last year, I was catching hits over 3.5 shots or 4.5 every single game. I'm pretty sure they had a cap on that prop, but if any of you guys can do it, I know, Andy, you were looking for your Derrick Henry. That's it, 100%. Right now, when we're done doing this video together, if you check your book and they offer Austin Matthews for shots, over until they adjust that number.
That's the beauty of the prop world, is you can find these props. I have 2 props that I've been playing right now that are lights out. Both of them are undefeated. So clients know what I'm talking about. Don't you share it in this chat room. That's my bread and butter. Andrew, that is great stuff from hockey. I love hearing guys that are passionate about what they do, and obviously you are. So you got a 5% play for NHL. Promo code is PUCK15. That's PUCK15. Get Andrew's play. What time does that game start tonight, Andrew?
The 5% play is 7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. So you got about 2 hours. So let's all go and lock it in. We are leading up to Super Bowl week. Don't forget, we got the propsies. We're going to be working on those. And I encourage everyone that follows us on Twitter, if you guys want to hit us up with some of your favorite props or least favorite props, some of the funniest ones that you've seen this year, let's include them. We're going to make some awards and ribbons and give everyone.
I'm sure Andy will make it fun. If I know Andy, he'll make it a fun show.
He'll sing a song for everybody, I'm sure, with his little castanets.
Don't think I haven't already ordered the little trophies.
Oh, goodness.
For the propsies. That happened.
Are we going to send one to the Jets?
Of course the Jets are going to be involved. Why wouldn't they? So, all right. That's it for Prop It Up this week. Hope everyone makes a lot of money. Andrew, give us just tell us what's going to be happening over for you on Wager Talk for the next week or so.
Yeah, for props for NFL, I'll have more props than I will have side and totals. UFC 1 play, it's a 4% play. It's an underdog, and I've hit 8 straight UFC wagers. Tonight, obviously, my 5% play in the NHL. A quick little PSA before, I don't want to take too long on this, but with the NHL, I am making myself known as relatively higher volume. So if a lot of times I will be posting a full report on Wager Talk, so I won't be just putting out one wager. However, today a 5% wager was posted, so that's all I have in that package. However, 5% picks cost $40. A daily pass costs $39. You buy the daily pass, you get every pick. You buy the 5% pick, you get that one pick alone. If you want someone's plays and not just the one pick they're offering, the sneaky way of going about it is grabbing their $39 day pass, and you can get every single pick they offer.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Matt, what can we expect from you for the next week or so?
College basketball, got a 4-pack for tonight. 28-1 run in college basketball, and then I'll have my Saturday NFL props up tonight before the Overpalooza, unless there's some unders. Then I'll wait until tomorrow. And then, of course, college basketball pretty much all week, all the way up till next Friday.
Awesome. Great stuff, guys. 2 of the best in the business. I'm lucky to be hosting this show with Mid-Major
We're lucky
Matt.
to have you, Andy. We're lucky to have you.
Appreciate it. Hey, Matt, I did want to say congratulations on your appearance on Wager Talk today. Somebody in the chat room said that I was good at props, and somebody commented that you were way sharper than me. So congratulations on your appearance.
It was probably my burner account. I don't know if it was MMM is awesome. That was me.
Mid-Major Mark.
Yeah, there you go.
So
massive major mark. Yeah.
Oh, great stuff. Hope everyone makes a lot of money. Don't forget to tune in Takedown Live MMA. We're back full speed ahead with UFC. Bellator's starting up. Andrew, I know you're excited about that. So we will be live on our YouTube channel, Takedown MMA. Join us there. That's Matt. That's Andrew. I'm Andy. Good luck. Let's make a lot of money this weekend. There's certainly a lot of opportunities. We will see you next week on Prop It Up.